I'm Danielle.
And I'm Joe.
And we're double bagging it.
She has ulcerative colitis.
He has Crohn's disease.
And we both have
permanent ileostomies. I didn't sing it today for once. I thought about that.
We'll sing it next time.
Yeah, well, welcome. Welcome to Gutsy Gatherings, guys.
Yeah, we're honored to be here yet again hosting Gutsy Gatherings, especially tonight. Tonight we have a very, very special episode that we've been thrilled and looking forward to.
I know, not only just because we enjoy the speaker so much, but we enjoy the topic so much.
Absolutely.
We are talking about travel, and I know I've missed it, and I'm certainly rusty on all the tips that I need when I get back into it.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's been a long time since we've been out and about, and it's good to have a refresher.
It is.
But our special guest this evening, Danielle,
is our friend Maria Jose Bowie, and I'm going to read you a little bit of a bio. It's like story time with Danielle.
Yeah, here she is.
Here she is.
Hi.
Welcome.
Thank you.
I'm going to read all about you.
It's very exciting. Thank you.
Right. So, welcome, MJ. Maria Jose is a 33-year-old motivational speaker, and through storytelling, laughter, we certainly enjoy your laughter, diversity, she has been able to connect and create impact with people from all walks of life. As a medically complex patient since birth, she has taken her journey to help educate, inform, inspire, and challenge society's stigmas. Living with renal failure, two ostomies, and unique medical adventures, she openly shares her life story without regret. Currently, Maria Jose continues to be a medical frequent flyer and prides herself in changing the world through acts of kindness. Welcome.
Yay.
Thank you.
Big round of applause.
Round of applause.
Thank you so much for having me. And as always, a pleasure to see you both.
It's a pleasure to see you as well.
It's great. Yeah. Welcome. There are many people out there like us who know you and are all inspired by you. We know your story, but would you share your story with our audience tonight?
Sure.
But first, we just want to let everyone know, if you're on there, we can't see you because this is not a Zoom. So just say a little hello in the comments below, whether you're on YouTube or on Facebook. And should you have a comment or a question, you can also pop those down in the comments below, and we'll be able to see it and we'll be able to chat. That's all.
Amazing.
Excellent.
Yes, ask all those questions.
We love a good question.
Thanks for the housekeeping and keeping us on track there, Danielle. I got so excited and I jumped ahead.
It's all right. That's why there's two of us.
Yeah.
That's
so
why
MJ,
you're a team.
Yeah, MJ. So go ahead, take it away. Let's let everybody hear about you.
Thank you. And again, thank you for having me. I'm super, super excited. So you did share a little bit about me, which is great. I am a double ostomate, and I currently live with a newer kidney transplant. I was born in Santiago, Chile, many moons ago. And when I was born, I was diagnosed with a rare congenital abnormality referred to as cloacal exstrophy. Typically, cloacal exstrophy is when the peritoneal sac, the sac that holds your organs in place, is exposed. In my case, that was not the case. It was just the closest diagnosis. So I had atrophy in various organs or lack of development causing side effects to other organs. For example, my bladder was stopped growing in uterus, so it was causing reflux into the kidneys, leaving them slightly damaged. So since then, I've had many surgeries. I arrived in Canada at a very young age, specifically for healthcare. And since then, I've had over about 60 major surgeries, including 2 living donor kidney transplants, many various ostomy revisions or changes, new ones, different ones, etc. And I continue to visit the hospital all the time. It is my passion. It has led me to be, I think, the person I am, including my parents, of course, but it is definitely one of the major parts of my life, and I'm very fortunate to be here and to be able to speak about my adventures on various platforms. So that's my medical side. And then in addition to that, I've been president of my local ostomy association. I currently sit on 2 international boards, and I've worked in fundraising for many years. So I kind of wear multiple hats in different environments, and I love it. I absolutely love them all. So.
And that's how we met you. So
yes.
We're very excited about that.
Yeah, it was wonderful. We bonded over chicken.
We did bond over chicken and medical life, for sure.
Yeah.
Who can't bond over chicken?
I know, well, probably vegetarians and
probably.
vegans.
Yeah, but like, I think they still would bond with us over chicken, though.
Yeah, exactly. You don't have to eat the chicken.
Yeah.
They can eat like the dip and celery sticks that come with chicken.
Absolutely. And feast on the joy that we bring to the table. That you bring to the table.
That you guys do as well. Of course. All we do is laugh together. So
that's true.
Anyone would be fortunate, I think, to spend time with us and just laugh at our insanity. So it's good.
Well said. But we're here for all of your tips and tricks, because I know it's been a while since so many of us traveled, and I know we eventually want to get back into it. And until we can safely, we want to learn all of the great things that you have to share.
Yeah. So travel has also been a huge part of my life. As I mentioned, I came to Canada at a very young age, and my first flight was a very long flight from Santiago, Chile to Toronto, Canada. So direct, it's almost a 12-hour flight. So when you add layovers and things like that, it becomes quite the adventure. I've also worked in the aviation industry for many years in different roles. So I was fortunate to learn about it both as a traveler, but also in the field. So I have so many tips and tricks that I'm always eager to share. And I think they apply to people with special needs, people with ostomies, and also the regular traveler, or the caregiver, the loved one who's traveling with someone else, or someone who is having their first adventure on a flight specifically. The other thing is all these tips and tricks work for flights, for ships, for a car ride across the country, or maybe you're camping for the first time or just visiting a loved one. So
we want them all. We love them all. We want them all.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. So I guess let's start at the very beginning. If we're planning a trip, what are some of the first things, I guess, that we need to think about?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think when you start planning a trip, and again, be it for a small trip nearby to a friend's house, a first sleepover sometimes, depending on how old you are. If you're a caregiver, you may be worrying about your child or your loved one traveling for the first time, or if that's your first trip around the world or to another city. I mean, one of the first things you have to really check is, one, your documents. You want to make sure whatever documents you need for your trip are up to date, they are valid, they are not expired, and most of all, they will not expire during your time away. So that means if you're traveling within the country, it typically means like a health card or a driver's license. And if you're traveling internationally, it means your passport. And in addition to a passport, those international visas that you may require depending on the country you're going to. Yes, the coveted passport. All the stamps. Right. So you need to check on those documents. And now with COVID, I think there's three really key things you need to see. One, what are the COVID restrictions, but also what are the travel restrictions for the place you are going to? So if it is a different country, there are some links that I can share with you later on, or you can contact us, of course. But you can look into each country's restrictions and what their guidelines are at the time. So what that would look like, is it a war zone? Is it a place with natural disaster that recently happened? Are they a safe environment, or are they high in certain crimes? Those are all things you want to look into. And of course, with that comes the weather. So you want to be able to then pack accordingly depending where you're going. So if you're hiking Mount Kilimanjaro, it's very different than you're going to a beach in Mexico.
And that's something I always forget about, or my family makes fun of me when I have 5 umbrellas when there's only 3 of us. But the day that I don't bring all the umbrellas is when we go somewhere and it's torrential downpour.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're not alone in that. I think everyone either prides themselves in packing light and therefore running out of what they need, or overpacking with things that aren't a necessity. So yeah, everyone raises their hand like,
that would be me.
Yeah. And that's okay. That's not a bad thing. Another thing that I would recommend for everyone, if it's their first adventure, again, this doesn't matter if it's near or far, is preparing a medical note from your family doctor or your team that cares for you, with a description as to what your medical condition is. Very general. It doesn't need to be detailed. And any drugs or drug therapy that you are actively using, be it in hospital or at home. So that would include if you're getting IV medication once a month, etc. And if you use medical supplies. So if you are an ostomate that self-catheterizes through a Mitrofanoff, or if you're using pouch and flange, 2-piece, 1-piece, etc. It doesn't matter the brand or any of that. Those details aren't needed. But knowing what your requirements are.
Excellent. I know that's something that I don't do. And now I've learned that from the last time we had this conversation with you, that I have a running list of notes of things that I definitely need to do. That's one of them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's something that is very much helpful, especially if you're going through international customs clearance and security with medication or with things that are flammable. Sometimes we don't think about it, but even paste for an ostomy pouch or flange, has alcohol in it, and it's considered like a dangerous good, etc. So you really have to be mindful of those things.
I never thought of that.
Yeah, and I just want to touch on that real quick when you're talking about international travel, because that's the thing when we talked about this before that caught me was flying domestically. I'm so used to, well, if I just have my prescription bottle that it came in, I'm safe. But that's not safe internationally. Like you actually need a note from your doctor, something more official.
Yeah, so what I recommend, and I know this sounds a little bit extra, and not everyone uses it, and again, it's a personal choice. It also depends where you're going, like you said, domestic versus international. Where internationally, Canada, US is very different than like Canada, Saudi Arabia, right? Like those guidelines and the laws are very different. And at the end of the day, you're visiting a country that has certain guidelines in place that may be different from your country. So in your medical note that you ask from a medical professional, typically they even have a template ready. I recommend you asking them to print out a list of your current medications with the prescription dose, et cetera, because it's valid for two reasons. One, if they're checking your medication and they're like, hey, this could be fake. But two, if you lose that medication or if you end up in a medical facility and you need care, there is a ready to go list that you don't have to start listing off what you take. Is it the right dose? Am I taking the right one? It's ready to go. And in that list, sometimes they even add, if you're a patient that is being monitored for your blood work, for example, like if you're diabetic, your most recent glucose levels, things like that.
Amazing.
Yeah,
I need to add that to my
Your list.
notes, my phone. I do. I need to be more prepared. And Deb here has a thought on that. I had never thought of this, but I wonder if it may be of assistance if we had a copy of the doctor's order.
Yeah, I mean, you can have that. Some people even, if you have a smartphone now, there's a health app typically built in, and you can add in all your information. The reason why I don't necessarily say you need a doctor's order specifically is because in different languages, they really need the simplicity of your drug list and your diagnosis. They're not going to be reading like why you're on it, et cetera, and so forth. So it's very much like this patient has renal failure. She takes X amount of drugs 3 times a day to maintain her transplanted organ. Should you have any questions, please contact this person. Or they are a double ostomate and they require frequent changes of their supplies, including catheters, flange, bag, paste. And should you have any questions, should there be a medical emergency, please contact us.
Awesome. And one thing that as I started traveling more after all of my diagnoses and life got better after my ostomy surgery, somebody brought it to my attention one time to make sure you have, because I know a lot of us have medication we don't always use, right? We kind of have like the as needed. And I know for a fact for myself, if I'm as needed, I may not be refilling them as much. And so you want to have your meds that are not expired.
Yeah, that's a great point. So medication that is not expired. And to tie into that, a lot of people take medication that is needed for them, but is not prescription, such as vitamins. And knowing that vitamins, unfortunately, are not going to be legal in every country, depending which ones you're taking. So if you add to that prescription list, which many doctors will do, for example, a lot of people take vitamin D, or if you're on iron, vitamins, multivitamins, hair growth, I mean, whatever you choose to be on, if they can add that to that list, it will be a lot easier to clear, because unfortunately, the reality is these things are not considered a necessity because they're not prescription. You can get a prescription for them, which is great, but additionally, the best way is to just, in your med list provided by your medical professional, to add in the vitamins or supplements you take. So some people even just take, for example, let's see, what's it called? Drip?
Drip drop.
Drip drop for rehydrating, right? Those are needs. Realistically, not everywhere has Gatorade or Powerade and things like that. And if you are a high output ostomy patient or someone with urostomy, Trophinol, et cetera, you may be dehydrating a lot more than usual. So being able to access those supplements and add-ons in your life that sometimes we really don't think about, right? Like, who would have thought a Gatorade isn't available in Paris? So what are you going to do? You're going to take some drip drop or whatever you take, some sort of what's it called? Rehydrating supplement. There we go.
Well, if I'm in Paris, I'll console myself with cheese. I'll rehydrate myself with cheese.
That's my love language. Cheese is my love language. No, and I will say that I just wrote down on my notes about, because I get the little Gatorade Zero packs, which is so much easier, because I know we used to always have to like run around and go to CVS in like a foreign city, and then you can't always find it. And now I'm just going to bring my little packets that I have and have it on my list.
Yeah, and just add it to your list. And again, so I just want to make one thing clear is if you don't have access to a medical professional right away to get this list, or to have your doctor create a form, sometimes they're like really back, especially now with COVID, I find medical professionals are really asking you to consider their time differently, right? Like, do you need this right away, or do you want it? So make it yourself. Write down a list and type it out, or write it, keep it in your wallet, keep it on your phone. And this will at least be a guideline should you need anything. And of course, your prescriptions will have everything on it, but it still helps if you're traveling domestically and you're carrying like 4 million medications. They're still going to be like, excuse me, can I speak to you over here? Why do you have morphine and codeine and all the narcotics plus everything else? So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they say a clear bag. I can't help it if mine's a 2-gallon clear bag.
Yes, yes. So with your medication and medical supplies, I think you nailed it when you say a clear bag. I encourage you to, first of all, have a carry-on. A lot of people love traveling light, and sometimes it's the only thing they travel with, especially on aircrafts, because they don't want to wait for their luggage, etc. So one clear guideline that is by all airlines has to be followed no matter what is typically you hear you're only allowed one carry-on and one personal item. In those 2 items, it does not include a medical bag. So this is a bag with your medical supplies. Please don't make it oversized the size of a child. This is a bag that should be able to carry all your things should you need to check your physical carry-on at the gate or something like that. And what I highly recommend, 1 for safety, but 2 for speed and kind of moving things along, is a clear, I brought props.
We love a good prop, you know that.
Right?
You're the carrot top of motivational speakers.
So I brought a clear bag here. This is my typical go-to for medication or medical supplies. Though it is not discreet when you're pulling this out at customs clearance or security or any place that you need to show your items, it is perfect for those places because who cares what everyone else thinks? What you need to know is the safety of your product. It's all able to be seen. So if you have medication with labels, they'll be able to see it. They don't need to open it to see everything. But 2, when they're scanning it, they can see from afar and they don't need to take everything out one by one and really analyze it any further. It's also just great for you to be able to easily access things in one swift motion. So say you get pulled aside, hey, what are these liquids you're carrying? You just grab one bag and you're not rummaging through a sock, an underwear, a running shoe, and whatever else, a floaty, right? So, yeah. And
a sock, a running shoe. That's what I have in my carry-on.
I mean, you sound like you're describing my carry-on prior to ever meeting you. Now that I know all the tricks, I won't carry my little, Yeah,
you don't want to carry a sock. Well, it's funny. I'm going to show you a sock, funny enough, after. But I encourage these not just for your medical supplies. So that means electronics. There's chargers in here. Anything you carry. The nice thing about a clear bag, it's easy if they need to check and say, hey, what was that metal device that we saw? Where did it come from, etc. They'll be able to see it in ones. Even when they open your carry-on, they'll see it, and they don't even have to go any further. If they have to, that is a very different conversation, and sometimes that may be because you're breaking the law somehow. So.
And I will say too, it's nice with the clear bag, especially during times of COVID. I very much appreciate security and TSA, but I hate when people are like touching everything. So. Yeah. Again, like you said, they don't have to open anything. Nobody's hands are in my medical supplies.
Yeah. Yeah, and things don't go missing as easily, right? So sometimes you see people opening their luggage, which I've had to do a million times. And one of the key things is like, oh, I put this because they had to open it and I had to see everything. And where did the scissors go? Where did that pen go? Where did my underwear go? I mean, the options are limitless.
Right.
But the other thing too is if you want to have something more discreetly concealed, you can put a bag within a bag. I mean, who are we kidding? We're just the bag group here. So a bag within a bag. And again, it's easy to see. So maybe you have your medication scene, but in here you have cosmetics or your shampoo and carry-on sized items. With this said, I just want to make one thing very clear, and a key tip is when you are traveling in your carry-on, you should have enough supplies to hold you over for the first 48 hours. So 48 hours minimum. Some people carry all their supplies, and medication should always be with you, specifically medication. That should not be packed away. Your medication stays with you wherever you go. But for medical supplies, if you have an ostomy that requires a 2-piece or 1-piece system and you're changing every 10 days, maybe take like 2 or 3 with you, because that will hold you over should anything happen or go missing.
That's why I overpack every medication, every bit of my ostomy supplies are always on my carry-on. And then, a pair of underwear, maybe some leggings. And I've learned the hard way to keep a toothbrush and toothpaste because it'll be $15 if you forget.
Yeah.
Well, I've taken many trips where I've had to buy underwear at Walmart. So
Listen,
but
not everywhere has Walmart. You just go commando.
Yeah. Well,
live your best life when you're traveling.
That's how I shop at Walmart anyway, as I go that way.
TMI.
While we're talking about carry-on, I want to jump back while we're talking about carry-on.
Yes.
And specifically ostomy supplies, when you're talking about 48 hours and take a couple of bag changes, but what about cutting if we have to cut our supplies? I know there are specific guidelines of what you can carry on the airplane, if we're talking about an airplane, as far as like the scissors and length and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so there are dangerous goods considered international dangerous goods, and that includes sharps, flammables, explosives, weapons, etc. And scissors fall under that, and medical scissors do as well. So I came with a few other props as well to show you, but that's a great question. So typically you see medical supplies with different scissor sizes. And what I recommend is nothing over 1 inch. So something like this is ideal. I don't know if you can see that. Isn't it?
Yeah, we can see it great.
Yeah, phenomenal. So something like this is accepted through customs clearance, TSA, anywhere you go realistically in an aircraft. And the reason why is this size is not considered a dangerous good. Anything bigger than this, I would encourage you to leave at home or pre-cut your medical supplies. That would be the other option. The reason for that is they have the right to deny it, and they will literally grab it and say, you either do not travel or we throw this out. That's it. There's no, well, I need it and this. There are exceptions, for example, for liquids. If you carry medication that is liquid, of course, they can't legally deny you that. But scissors are not considered a necessity when they are a full size. So we're talking about like kitchen sink scissors. No need for those. Right. Like chicken cutting scissors. We see it all the time. At the airport, you see people bringing all kinds of things. Oh, well, it's just an X-Acto knife. Well, unfortunately.
Right, it's just an X-Acto knife.
Yeah, right. Like if a butter knife isn't allowed, an X-Acto knife is definitely not allowed.
Right.
So I would say nothing bigger than 1 inch, preferably smaller, 5 centimeters most. Most medical supply scissors also have that dull edge, similar to the ones I showed you. They have like a bit of a curved edge versus just pointy and sharp. So one side is curved and one side is not. And those are much safer, and typically those are accepted without an issue. Additionally, when it comes to liquids, there is a 1 liter max. And what that means is not you can carry 1 liter bottle of Coca-Cola. It means 100 mils per item. And 100 mils doesn't sound like a lot, and it is not a lot. So one of my favorite products is these little squishy containers. So they're very easy to use. They're like fully liquid sealed in the sense you can have sunscreen in here, shampoo, conditioner, oil, whatever you need. And it won't spill or leak. They also have a great little, I don't know if you can see that, but a little suction on the back. And you can
right under the shower wall.
onto the shower wall, but also in an aircraft, for example, you're in a very confined space. And if you need water, or if you're washing your hands with a specific, like if you have allergies or something, you can section this to the mirror, to a counter, wherever, if it's unstable, and really have a little bit more security with that. The nice thing too is because, right? It's so handy, but they're also like a silicone, so it's not going to break, it's not going to leak. You can go through security with something like this. Typically, rule of thumb is if you have 5 of these, they're going to pull you aside and start saying, like, how much are each of these worth? Are they 100 mils? Are they 50 mils, 20 mils, 150 mils? That's it. You're vetoed. Bye. Like, you're off the island. But no, so also some people really love carrying perfume and sprays and things like that. You don't need them, but if you want them with you, or if you're traveling only with carry-on, try to find something like this that is compact and contains the maximum amount of the liquid you can carry. And again, this is great that you have it in your clear bag. They can see it's a little container and you don't have to worry. So the other tip I would say is always carry, some people use doggy bags. Some medical supplies come with a bag. So something like this isn't just for your medical changes. This is for anything and everything. You get sick on an aircraft, you spill something that is now damp, you are at the beach and your bathing suit's wet and you want to change into dry clothing. A little bag like this really goes a long way, and it's perfect for your medical changes. A lot of medical supply companies now send it with your ostomy supplies. But even for people with urinary diversions, if they're using a leg bag or a drain and it's overflowing, they can really drain some of this out, throw it in the garbage, or drain it into a toilet, sink, etc., and have a little bit more time and leeway.
Oh, we have a question. What do you carry all of your clear cases in? Do you have a favorite bag to put all of your carry-on clear cases in?
So I'm a fan of a wheelie and a tote. So a wheeled luggage bag for the airport. Preferably 4 wheels that move always, not just 2 wheels. The reason for this is really when you're zooming through security or you're standing somewhere, you want to have that flexibility where you're not like turning around the bag. The other thing too is it's a great unit to have as a solid surface. So if you need to sit on the floor somewhere and kind of cut your medical supplies or pour out like I take liquid medications and it's not always the easiest to be walking and like pouring and whatever, it doubles as a sturdy surface. It also protects your items by being solid. And then for a carry-on for my second item, my personal item, as I like to call it, I use a purse or a tote that is nylon or something thinner and similar to the packable bags that you find at grocery stores.
Awesome.
The reason for that is the weight. And 2, if you put an extra one in there, you kind of have a second bag should you need it for any emergencies or anything like that. But they're lightweight. So again, key is the weight. You don't realize how heavy things get very quickly. But also the packability of it. If you don't need it, you throw it in your carry-on. It's not taking up a lot of room. And then the other thing, by being a fabric that is not absorbent, so cotton is, leather can be very heavy, but by being non-absorbent, if you spill something, you can easily wipe it off or wash it literally in a sink. And even if it's a bit damp, it's not going to be the same as cotton or bamboo or leather, etc.
Awesome. Yeah, I know. So we always carry our little 4-wheel rollies, and then we're big fans of smaller backpacks. And that way, if I have a purse, you can't really have a carry-on, a backpack, and a purse. So I put my purse inside the backpack, and then I still have the room for all of my other things. That's my little hack. And I like to not carry things. I don't like to have anything in my hand other than dragging my suitcase. So having that on my back and having it be a really secured zipper area. But oftentimes I'm like, Joe, is the zipper closed? Is the zipper closed?
Yeah. So that's
Zipper
the
patrol.
only thing with backpacks is depending where you are, they can be a high theft target.
Or you could put them on the front.
You can put, I was just going to say, you can kangaroo them and carry them on the front, and that's perfect. The other thing about a wheelie is a lot of people look for wheelies that have a million pockets or even their bags with all of that. The thing with a lot of pockets is it's a lot of places for things to get misplaced.
Right.
So I would encourage you to look for one that maybe has a laptop sleeve. And the reason I say that is because that cushioning will also provide cushioning to anything else that may be fragile that you're carrying with you. Your iPad, your laptop, but maybe your medication comes in a glass bottle, or maybe you have something that shouldn't be squished too much, and it really does protect it.
Great tip.
Yeah.
I never even thought about that. This is why you're here. You're brilliant.
I have my moments.
Brilliant. We have another question here. Should you add extra clothes and that In that true, yeah, in case of a leak. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I always have the underwear and leggings because leggings you can roll up into a little tiny ball and you're good. That's my thing.
I think that's a great go-to for both men and women. Workout gear is typically wicking fabric. It is lightweight and it is packable. But you can always do something along the lines of layers as well. So if you don't wear leggings and you wear jeans, that's great. But maybe a pair of boxer shorts for men, because boxer shorts can double as your underwear. But of course, it's something that you can wear respectfully and not feel exposed, right? Similar to swim shorts. Having an extra top is always good. I also recommend a layer to keep you warm. Aircrafts can get very, very cold, and changes in temperature when you fly are very common for people to get sick, excluding COVID. I think this is something that it happens all the time. You're in the car, you get warm, the sun's out, you roll down the window, then you get cold. I mean, it can happen in an aircraft or anywhere else. So carrying a lightweight scarf or maybe something like a hoodie. Hoodies get a little bit bulkier, so maybe something that is more compact. Yeah, but layers are a key to success. Extra underwear.
Yep.
Yeah.
Extra underwear in the sky. I have a scarf all the time, like a little infinity scarf, and it's so nice. Also, pre-COVID, that was my put up, as soon as I was sitting by the coffer, I was always near a cough cloud, and now I'm like extra vigilant about not being near cough clouds. But my scarf was always my basically my mask.
It took me a while to learn whenever I was anywhere in public with Danielle to really be aware of her walking pattern, because all of a sudden she'll start zigzagging, and it's specifically to avoid a cough cloud that happened like 20 feet in front of us.
I can see a cough cloud from a million miles away, and especially it's come in handy during these pandemics.
COVID radar was well ahead of her time.
Yeah, I've been avoiding cough clouds since I was probably 15. So yeah.
Good for you. See, that's why you're so healthy. But yeah, that's a great point, is now with COVID, we're a little bit more, I think we're hyper aware of things that people that work in aviation were always aware of. And we're like, oh, everyone's dirty, gross. You're all filthy. But now we know that everyone's filthy animal. Exactly. Now we're like, yeah, filthy animals. We knew it. We knew it all along. So with that said, I did want to emphasize a few things with COVID guidelines, and one being mask wearing. So you are obligated to wear a mask at all times in airports and on aircrafts. I know it's tough, but you have to. And please follow that guideline, because your safety is just as important as the people who are around you. And should you be following COVID guidelines or not, when you are in these public spaces, please be sure to follow those guidelines. So your mask should be a fully closed mask, not a bandana, not a scarf, unfortunately. I recommend a disposable mask, and maybe even a personal mask, like a reusable one. The reason for that is the disposable one, once you've arrived at your destination, dispose of it. Literally, like you're leaving the airport and you're saying goodbye to that mask. Or if you are in the aircraft and then you're going to connect to another flight, maybe you're taking 2 or 3 with you, and you're changing those as you go. Additionally, I think everyone has this now, but hand sanitizer is key. And with hand sanitizer, maybe some Kleenex, because you can use this to wipe down a surface, but also you can, of course, have Clorox wipes, wet wipes with you, and those are completely allowed. The nice thing about having Kleenex with sanitizer, though, is you can use the Kleenex for other things, and it's not wet with something that may be toxic for your skin. So,
good point.
With that said, I have a little magic trick I want to show everyone.
Yay.
These are one of my favorite items, and I discovered these many years ago. I was probably about 10 or 11 when I found these, and they are pre-packed and sealed cloths. So it looks like a chiclet or like a candy.
Yeah.
Can everyone see that?
After dinner
mint.
Oh,
yeah.
After dinner mint. So good. But what this is it takes about less than a tablespoon, so not a lot of liquids. You can use hand sanitizer. I hate to say this, but even spit if you're in a tight situation. You can use the ocean. I mean, anything. So I'm going to show you. I have very little water in here. I'm not going to use almost any of it. I'm going to dip this in so you can use it at a sink. So I've barely wet the edge. Oh, there's my camera. I'm going to turn down my light here so that you can see it better. I think we had the same issue last time. And what this does is, I'm just going to put a little bit more water. It was a bit dry. It expands into a beautiful, useful gauze-like cloth.
Magic.
Science. Yeah. So what this is great for is of course, your medical changes. So if you're using medical supplies, you're in an aircraft, you need to wipe things, and toilet paper on an aircraft is not bouncy and plush and lovely.
Or it may not even be there.
Yeah, or it may not. Typically on aircrafts, if it's a Q400 or smaller, you're not going to have any running water. So you can ask, but like, I hate to say this, but if you're in a time of need, you can use the beverage you're drinking, right? Like, it doesn't need to be something so sterile. An ostomy is not a completely sterile site, so not to worry about that. Of course, if you're using this on an open wound, I would not use a beverage, but if you're in a tight situation and you're by like water, you can ask the flight attendant for a cup of water. Typically, they're very accommodating unless it's during takeoff, turbulence, or landing. And please just sit down. Stay seated and wear your seatbelt. But yeah, like it takes about a tablespoon of liquid, which is not a lot, and it's damp. I mean, this is something you can use on any part of your body in the sense it is very soft. And then you can dispose of this. They fully can be flushed because it's very, very thin. It's actually like a perforated knit, similar to gauze. Or you can, of course, wait for garbage and throw it in the garbage, etc. Some people like having towelettes ready, but they're very, very hard to come across in the middle of the sky. So if you don't have them, those are really great to have and very easy and compact to use.
And we have a question right off the bat. Where can you find these little magic cloths?
So if you message me, I was just telling the team this, but if you message me on
we lost you a little bit. We can't hear you. There we go. Yeah, we got you.
Yeah, perfect. So if you message me on social media, I'd be more than happy to send you those. I don't sell them or anything, so it would just be me sending them to you. So please don't worry. They're sold, however, here they're even sold at variety stores. I don't have a name for them. They're like compressed towelettes. I believe if you Google it, Amazon sells them. Dollar stores sell them. Sometimes supermarkets even have them in the cosmetic and toiletry section. Pharmacies often have them too in those like where they have the travel size items. They sometimes have those there. But if you can't find them, feel free to DM me and I'd be more than happy to send you a handful because they're very, very inexpensive. I think I buy a pack of 50 for about $2.
Oh, that's beautiful. And I know this hasn't been discussed, but I feel like we need to have you back on like an ostomy hacks panel. So
I'd be happy to be on a hack. I know many.
I know. That's what I'm saying. Like these towels are life-changing. And I know you have way more. You have way more tips. I can feel it.
Way more. I do have one other tip I wanted to speak of. And again, this goes into all the germs and dirty people out there. You're welcome. So a lot of people when flying use those lovely neck rests and they get like squishy ones or they get gel-filled ones. And often, you see this very often, people clip them onto their carry-on and trickle through the airport like dun, 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 and you see this thing banging against walls and then they're in the washroom and it falls on the floor and then they're in line, etc. No, don't use the beady ones. They're very comfortable. They're lovely, but use something that can be compact. For everything, I recommend this. So for your scarf, a scarf that isn't bulky so that you can either tie it around your waist after just like you would a hoodie or fold it up and put it in your carry-on and it's not taking up space. So I have this kit. You can tell it's very loved, very worn. It's called the Comfort Travel Kit. I got it at a store near my house. It was fairly inexpensive. They sell these at the airport. They sell them at dollar stores. And this included 3 key things that a lot of people really enjoy. One is earplugs. If you have sound sensitivity or pressure sensitivity in an aircraft, earplugs are great. It comes with a travel case for them. If yours don't have a travel case, I recommend disposing them after each use. Earplugs are able to be found anywhere unless you have reusable ones. The second thing I would recommend is a face mask. Not a face mask for COVID, but a regular face mask. And the reason I mention this is if you don't have your face mask for COVID, you dropped it, it got dirty, it got wet, it can double as a mouth mask as well. But of course, the comfort of your light sensitivity if you're sleeping in an aircraft. And an inflatable neck pillow. This one has a lovely cover on it, but it is plastic, just like kids' inflatable arm cushion things for swimming. This is exactly the same. It sounds the same. It's that like rough plastic. It's got a little nozzle here that you just pop up and inflate. Takes maybe 30 seconds to inflate, but then when you're done, you fold it up. It stays clean, hygienic. You don't have to worry. Airports are dirty.
They're gross. And you know what? As soon as you started, like I started having a little anxiety, a little travel anxiety when you said the neck pillow just flopping around. Because you know what? Every time I see that, I'm like, that's been through very many cough clouds. So many cough clouds.
And the other thing too is I think the cleanest place in an airport or aircraft will be the washroom. So don't worry if something falls there, a medical supply or something like that. Use your hand sanitizer and wipe it off. But if you're in the cafeteria, if you're sitting on the ground on those lovely carpeted areas where there's Wi-Fi or there's plugs, everyone's always searching for a plug. I just warn you, they're not that clean. I mean, with COVID, of course, the level of safety and security has been upped 100%, 1,000%, I would say, in hospitals and in travel destination type places. So hotels, airports, Uber drivers, etc. But you still just be mindful that I would say the cleanest place for you realistically is a washroom. They use strong chemicals there and they're cleaned very frequently, even before COVID. So not to worry.
Yeah. And,
awesome.
In talking about COVID, as things are opening back up and, we've been a year in, we've learned so much and about COVID and how to travel with it and such, and regulations and policies are being put into place for travel. Mm-hmm. I think let's talk about that a bit, as about considerations for traveling now in this world of COVID, post mid pandemic, whatever you would call it.
Yeah. Our new life, we'll say.
Yeah. Our new life. There we go. Yeah.
So there's a few things that I think resonated before COVID and I think are very true to what is happening now and what travel will look like in the future as well. So actively and in the future. And there's, I think, 3 key things that I highly recommend. For starters, I do not encourage you to travel if it is not needed at this time. The planet is facing a lot of difficulty and it is not safe. As much as we wish we could be on a beach or we could be visiting our loved ones, if you can wait a little bit longer, I think that is key. However, if you are traveling, please register with your country that you are a citizen with. So if you are an American citizen, Canadian, Peruvian, Chilean, French, etc., register with your country. And what I mean by that is typically if there is a natural disaster or an emergency in any situation, if you are registered with your country and you have already purchased a confirmed ticket to or from your destination, they will place you on a rescue flight or reaccommodate you to something that is safe. So what I mean by registering is you would go to your government's website. I do have some links available and those will be shared later on, I believe. Or you can, I think it's, maybe you should say this, email 11 Health.
Yes, I'm sorry.
No,
sorry.
I was like,
no, that's okay. Yes, we will be sending out to anybody who actually registered for this on the Gutsy Gathering tab at 11health.com. We will be emailing a list of travel links provided by MJ and all of the other great things that we learned about tonight, but specifically links like this. If you did not register, that's also okay. You can message us through 11health.com. You can also get on Patient Coaches or 11 Health's social media. So your Facebook, Instagram, Twitter.
Perfect.
Or us, you can reach out to us as well.
Yeah, for sure.
We're a friendly bunch.
Yeah, we're okay, I guess.
We're all right.
Filthy animals, but we're fine.
True. Very true.
So when you register for your country, again, those links are really important. So what happens is your country knows you are traveling. So should there be an emergency or should you have an emergency, medical, emotional, if you're in distress, if you've lost your travel documents, etc., the consulate or your country in general will know who you are, where you are, and how they can assist you to the best of their ability and to the best of your ability. So that is key for any travel. And I even recommend that if you're going to a neighboring country like Canada and the US. I mean, we have great political relationships, but should there be an earthquake where you're going, or if you were traveling and someone robbed you and you lost your documents, I mean, it's often very, very difficult to find those things and to also make sure you can get home safely and efficiently. So I think that's number 2. And number 3 is knowing the emergency contacts for the country you are going to. A lot of people don't think about this, but 911 is not a universal emergency number.
Right.
So, of course, some people, when they travel, they look for keywords. How do I find the washroom? How do I go to the hotel or whichever? But I think your number 1 search should find out what that emergency contact is for the country or city you are going to, because should there be an emergency where you feel uncomfortable, unsafe, or in need of help, you need to be able to dial that, and they'll be able to translate and speak any language that you speak.
That's great.
Good to know.
Yeah, it's something I never would have thought
I'm
about.
not gonna lie, I'm always just like learning how to say, how may I have a beer? You know?
Most people do, yeah. Most people do.
Followed by, where's the bathroom?
Right.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. You need to know. But I think that goes hand in hand with also, like, some people really like searching keywords, like you said, like where's the bathroom or grab a beer or something like that.
Yeah.
But also knowing how to ask for help is just huge. Just even the word help isn't universal. No is universal, but everything else is not. So finding that out and knowing where you're going, knowing the time zone is a huge thing, so that you know how to deal with jet lag if you're flying very far. Knowing the currencies, things like that are really important. But I would say your number 1 most important is registering with your country, finding out what the guidelines are for that country that you're going to. Do you require visas? Are there COVID restrictions right now? Can you travel to it? Can you not? What is the emergency status? And of course, finding out that emergency contact number.
Excellent information. And again, that will be provided in the email, or if you're not registered, send us a message.
Yeah, we love hearing from you.
We do.
Yeah.
We do.
Yeah.
And if you guys have any questions, drop them down below at any time. We can start reading your questions. But yeah.
Yeah, and I want to touch on MJ. You said, obviously pointed out, I think the obvious, that now it's, if travel isn't necessary now, we probably shouldn't be traveling. But I also, as we're all considering, since we're all patients, that we should consider consulting with our physicians, consulting with our medical team to get their input on where we might be traveling to, and for our own personal health situation, get that kind of input as to whether we should travel or not.
Yeah, and taking into account your health needs, but also the global needs. So I think one thing that is going to start rolling out that I think we can expect in the coming weeks, let alone months or year, is a travel passport that is about your vaccinations. And I think we have to look at vaccinations in a way that is similar to if you're traveling to a country that has malaria, or like if you're worried about getting TB or something like that, you would get vaccinated for that. So if you are looking to travel, a country has the right to deny you if you are not vaccinated. I think it will be. It's not quite clear yet, but it is definitely on the table to be rolled out any day now. Or maybe that you are allowed to go without vaccination, but you may need quarantine. So taking all those things into account, and that includes your health. Some people may choose to not be vaccinated, or maybe have allergies, etc. So if your doctor says, yes, go get vaccinated, or yes, you can travel. However, you dehydrate very easily. So what does that mean? Maybe not going to a sunny beach and laying in the sun. Maybe it means going to a beautiful mountain or a lake instead, and maybe more neutral weather. So keeping that into account. Typically what I recommend as well, and your medical professionals will know this, they may not have all the answers, but asking them if they have a relationship in that country with a medical team that you can advise with should you have any issues. So sometimes hospitals have affiliations with universities, like the Mayo Clinic may be affiliated with Sick Kids in Toronto, for example, or whichever. So you want to look into that, especially if you're part of a major institution. Typically, they do have international relationships. And if it's just your local family doctor that maybe has a few patients only, he may be able to refer you either way and say, hi, I know this person is traveling, and I just wanted to give you heads up, they're a high-risk patient or something like that. The other thing, too, is at the same time, you can also call your medical manufacturer vendor and see if they have a facility or if they sell your medical products internationally in case you decide to stay somewhere. Maybe you loved your trip so much and instead of going for a week, you stay for a month and a half. and you don't have the right medical supplies. So how to source those. I also recommend you contacting the local associations, be it based on your disease or based on ostomies, etc. So there's ostomy associations around the world. I'm actually the director of one of the international ones, and we have places literally everywhere in the world. And if it's not a country that allows it, often there's a relationship with a hospital there. So there are medical teams globally that can help you out as an ostomate. And also other patients that you can meet around the world. I've been very fortunate to meet people like you, of course. But everywhere in the world that I've been, it's been an adventure. So there's lots of different groups that you can connect with should you need any help. And I think now with social media, it's really great to really just send a quick message and say, hey, does anyone live in Peru? I'm going there hiking, and I would love to connect with you. And Google Translate works everywhere, so people will be able to understand that. Or if you're going to Iceland, or if you're going to Shanghai, or if you're going anywhere. So
awesome. Right. As soon as it's safe, we're going to come visit you, and we're going to stay for a week, but we really mean a month and a half. Right?
I have room here in my jungle.
I love it.
Yeah.
We're going to remind you that you said that.
Come anytime. I love visitors, and that kind of goes out to everyone. Once travel becomes a lot more safe, please feel free to travel and visit. You can do so much. You can do so much, and please don't limit yourself out of fear or insecurity. But the number one thing I think when traveling is to trust your instincts as well. So if you don't feel well, make sure you listen to your body. And if you feel really well, also listen to your body and do those things that you were maybe fearful of before.
Absolutely. I know my golden rule is rest and hydrate. And
Yeah.
And, I think touching on that idea of fear there, back when I was a new ostomate, traveling was very scary. The idea of traveling was very scary. So, I'd be interested in getting your input on this. I mean, my tip on that is, start small, dip your toe in the water, start small with small trips, and, build up your confidence with traveling, knowing that you can meet your needs while you're traveling. That's the biggest thing, because I was afraid that, oh my gosh, I'm gonna go away, and I'm not gonna know what am I gonna do if my bag leaks? I'm not gonna know what to do.
Yeah. Where do I go? What do I do?
Yeah.
Right. And I will say though, like, although for most people, the bathrooms in the airlines are so small, but I think that's to your advantage if you ever have to change a bag, because you have a very small space. You can't move around too much. You know what I mean? Like, it might work to your advantage. Who knew?
Yeah.
Who knew? We do have a question here. Any recommendations when traveling with pets, even if it's not by air?
Yes. Great question. So there's different codes for pets. First of all, we love pets at airlines. However, there are a lot of restrictions internationally, be it by car or by air, that you do need to keep into account. So first of all, if you have a personal companion that is a pet, that is your caregiver as well, so emotional support animal, a guide dog, etc., you are more than welcome to bring them on board with us. However, you need to ensure that dog is, or cat, or I mean, people have birds that are emotional support animals, any kind. We've even seen ponies. So make sure that pet has a certificate. You want to make sure that pet has all its shots and vaccines and everything it needs to be able to fly, especially. But also, depending where you're going, there could be quarantine. And it's something to keep in mind. And it's not COVID related. It is specific to, for example, if you're traveling to Brazil, they have the Amazon. So that quarantine means that pet may not be allowed to be with you for 6, 12, 5 weeks. You never know. And that could be even longer than your actual trip.
Wow.
So keep that in mind. The other thing, too, is a pet should be someone, I guess a pet to me is a someone. I have 2 pets, and they're my someones. They should be traveling with you as part of the enjoyment. If it becomes a hassle, a stress, or if it is something that is concerning to you, maybe your first trip should not be with your pet. Again, that is 2 very separate. So I'm saying like a pleasure of having your pet versus a need. And keep that in mind when you are traveling. Having a pet is really enjoyable, but not everywhere accepts them. Look into hotels that will accept them. Some people have allergies. There's also a lot of ethical reasons. Some people have cultural differences, so they may get offended. So it's all worth keeping in mind. However, I do encourage you to travel with your pet if you can, because it's lovely to know that they're with you and not worry about them and not miss them. And hopefully if they're part of your life and part of your home, they can experience the same adventures as you. And I know tons of people who travel every week before COVID, pre-COVID, with their pet all over the world. So yeah, I think it's not something unheard of. I mean, goldfish, I would be careful with on an aircraft, but yeah, other than that, a lot of people do take their pet. With that said, some people can't have their pet with them in carry-on, depending on size, depending on weight, depending on the type of pet. So it's nothing personal. It's just for safety reasons. And I can't emphasize this enough. Those guidelines are in place for your safety as well as the safety of the team. And we encourage you to respect those guidelines and to know that they're there for your safety above all. So, yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Joe's my emotional support person.
Animal.
I was say you said person, not animal. Person, not animal.
I was being kind. So, all right. But if you guys have any more questions, put them into the comments real quick. We're wrapping up here. So if you have any, and if you think of one later on, MJ, I believe you'd be fine with them messaging you on social media.
I'd be happy to answer any questions, offer tips and tricks. And again, if you need any products that you can't find locally, please feel free to let me know and I can send you a lovely little care package for your next big adventure.
You're the best.
A pleasure.
I always have to do the heart hand. So, and you have anything else, Joe? Any other questions?
I don't. It's been a lovely evening. It's been great to chat with you and see you, both of you.
I do want to add one thing. I encourage you all to travel. Traveling is something that can be often feared by caregivers, loved ones, medical teams, or yourself. And it is something that will open your eyes to so many beautiful things, beautiful people. And I think if you're willing to take that little step, it will make a big difference in your independence as an ostomate or as a person living with different disabilities. And it will help you grow in ways that you will never, I think, imagine. You can never imagine how much you can grow. And I'm talking about any travel. It doesn't need to be on a plane. It does not need to be on a boat or a train. It can be down the street to your friend's house, having that first sleepover as adults or as youth. It doesn't matter. And taking the risk because you will enjoy it. And be open to those cultural differences or personal differences because it will change your world and it will really make you feel empowered in who you are and the things you can do, because having an ostomy or any disabilities does not limit you. If anything, it's given you that chance at life to do so much more. So take that point and take your life and enjoy it.
Hear, hear.
Awesome. Well said. Well said. Well, and whoever's moderating on 11 Health, if you guys have our next Gutsy Gathering date, can you put that in the chat, please? But yeah, I just wanted to say thank you to everyone for joining us. Thank you, MJ. You're always just such a pleasure to be around.
Thank you for having me. An honor. Yeah,
it's been the best. And to all of our people who've commented and questioned and just said hi, thank you so much for being with us this evening. I guess it could be an afternoon somewhere. It's the internet.
Yeah,
wherever you
tomorrow.
Are. Exactly. Wherever you are. Thank you for being with us. If you want to learn more about 11 Health products, services, patient coaching services, please visit us at 11health.com as well as here on Facebook. Look, you're already here. That's half the effort right there. Yeah. You're already there. Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. And if you guys have any questions, shoot them our way. You can reach out to MJ, to us at Double Bagging It. And we'll always be happy to have you. It looks like the next Gutsy Gathering is May 27th.
Yeah, so go to 11health.com/Gutsy Gathering.
That's right. Gutsy Gathering tab.
Register now.
Yeah, and then you'll get an email to remind you, and we'll be right back here, most likely on Facebook Live. Stay tuned. So, well, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. Enjoy the rest of your evening, afternoon, night.
Stay healthy and well.
Yes.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.